Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a woman's perspective here on 7 things that always turn women off and that you should probably avoid doing. Lucky for you, they are all completely in your control, and you might just not even realize that you're doing them, so let's get into it. The first one here is negative self-talk. So negative self-talk can be a turnoff to women because it can signal a lack of confidence and a lack of self-esteem, which are both really important qualities in a partner and things that women look for, things that women find incredibly attractive in a man. Women might also find it draining or unattractive to constantly have to reassure or validate a partner who engages in negative self-talk, rightfully so. I'm sure that's frustrating for all of you guys as well. Negativity just tends to be a rather unpleasant and unattractive quality as it is, even if it's not necessarily about just yourself. I just think with a woman that you are romantically interested in and vice versa, you just don't want to come across like you are very needy or needing her attention all the time or constant validation or just like talking really bad about yourself. I actually had a girlfriend once who was really into this guy she was dating, but she mentioned to me that he constantly was self-deprecating, constantly saying really bad things about himself, and it was a huge turnoff to her because if you're not even sure about yourself or confident in yourself, how is the woman that you're dating supposed to be confident in you and the relationship? So I think it's really important to regard yourself highly and to speak about yourself in a way that is not negative and rather positive. And also something to keep in mind is that your thoughts sometimes end up becoming your reality, and whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And of course, we can work on ourselves and know the areas where we need to improve and be self-aware when it comes to that. But I do think being kind to yourself is really important, and it's attractive when you are confident in yourself to women. The next thing is lacking good hygiene or grooming habits altogether. So physical attractiveness tends to point back to one thing: health. If you have poor hygiene, you don't typically look like the epitome of health. Quite the opposite, actually. It can also suggest a lack of self-care and attention to personal grooming, which is obviously a turnoff. Maintaining good hygiene habits such as showering regularly, wearing clean clothes, brushing your teeth, etc. can demonstrate that a person values their health and well-being and may be more likely to take care of themselves and other aspects of their life as well. Uncleanliness, which can often lead to unpleasant odors as well, let's be sure to mention that, is a turnoff and can make the overall experience of being around someone just rather unpleasant. This is going to negatively impact physical contact and intimacy as well if this is someone that you are dating. My advice here is that you need to be putting some sort of effort into your hygiene and grooming. If you make this a habit and a part of your everyday routine, depending on what it is, some things don't need to be done every day, right? Like a haircut, every few weeks will do, but this is super easy to improve on if you really start to make it a habit for yourself. While we're talking about grooming habits, big thank you to Tiege Hanley for sponsoring today's video. Tiege Hanley makes taking care of your skin uncomplicated. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing that you don't. Their level 1 system is a great place to start because it comes with all of the basics. It comes with a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub that's going to leave you glowing, get rid of all that dead skin, an AM moisturizer that has SPF 20 because again, you're tough but you're not tougher than the sun and you need a moisturizer with SPF, so this is a great option, and a moisturizer to use before bed. And to make it even easier, they provide this instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. This is not something that you want to put off because prevention is key, and in 5 years when your skin looks better than every other guy you hang out with, you're going to remember this moment and thank Courtney Ryan for recommending Tiege Hanley. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tiege Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off of the retail price, access to exclusive monthly deals, pause or cancel at any time, and free US shipping. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click the first link down in the description and you'll get 30% off of your first box, plus a free gift. Don't miss out on this amazing deal. Click that link and get started today. The next one here is one that you might not have heard before, and that is revving your engine or driving like an idiot. Now, before I get into it, I know this one is a little bit silly and I totally get that, but I just really feel the need to debunk this once and for all. Women want to feel safe when they're driving with you, and it is such a turnoff when men drive recklessly, but it's also incredibly dangerous. I'm not trying to die. I actually have a really funny story about the revving engine thing here that I think you guys will get a kick out of, and it actually inspired me including this point in the video. So I was at this outdoor shopping center and this guy was speeding through this place, revving his engine. He had like some kind of 90s car. It was like turquoise. You could tell he put a lot of time into this car, I'm sure. And he was revving his engine. He pulls up to a stop sign with a group of young women standing by and is revving his engine, being dumb. And they all gave a super annoyed look. And then as he's doing this, the girls are annoyed, they walk away. Two teenage boys walk up to the car and start talking to the driver like, wow, man, that's so cool. And I think this just perfectly demonstrated the difference between the male and the female gaze. This is something that other men find really cool and attractive, so I think a lot of men then think, oh, women will like this too because I'm into this. But women don't typically have the same response or reaction that men do. It's kind of like when men are, you know, incredibly huge and muscular and they take like selfies in the gym and other guys are like, wow, dude, that's awesome. Girls don't necessarily care as much about that. And it's more of a male gaze, like male attraction type of thing, rather than the female gaze and female attraction. So there's a big difference there. And honestly, I might make an entire video about the male versus female gaze just so you guys can understand. If you've never heard of it before, it's something that's talked a lot about on TikTok and people make a lot of videos about it over there. So maybe I'll do a whole video. If you want to see that, let me know down below. But anyway, back to my point here, revving your engine, it's not cool. When you're speeding, racing with someone on the highway, not cool. I think a lot of guys do this, you know, maybe they enjoy it and that's their thing, but I see a lot of them do it when women are around to try to garner attention, and I think it really does the opposite of what you're going for. To me personally, and every single girl I've ever known, it's just a huge turn off and not something that we typically find attractive. The next one here is no chivalry on dates. I know what you're gonna say. Chivalry is dead and women killed it. And sure, maybe some of them did, but there are great women out there who appreciate a guy's gentlemanly gestures. And just overall respect. Being kind and courteous certainly do not hurt you, especially when you're with a great woman who is going to appreciate it. Some examples here could be small gestures like opening the door, walking on the outside of the sidewalk, giving a jacket if you're cold, paying for the date even. You know, as much as good posture, grooming habits, and, you know, a really nice outfit help you, they certainly do not make the man. And I think who you are to your core matters. Who you are in here and in here matter. And being kind or being a gentleman just makes you stand out in the best way. And another thing I wanted to mention here that I think really ties into this gentleman, you know, conducting yourself in a great way thing is that you shouldn't necessarily let someone else's actions dictate how you lead your life and the actions that you take. So again, I know there are some women out there who do not appreciate these things, but there are so many women who do, and you shouldn't let those potential negative Nellies of the world or the women who don't appreciate a great man influence you to then be a jerk or not a gentleman because you think that women won't appreciate it. Because again, I promise you, there are so many women who will, myself included. Great women will swoon and melt when you do these things because it gives them an insight to your character and how you treat people that you care about. In addition, this also often involves being considerate and attentive to a woman's needs and desires, which can make her feel special and cared for. So overall, being a gentleman is a combination of traits that just make a man seem kind, respectful, and more attractive to women. So if you're someone who's not doing those things and you're being rude to people, you're acting like a jerk, you're never paying for a single date, you're never holding open a door, you're slamming the door in her face or walking way ahead of her and leaving her in the dust, these are things that are going to completely turn off a great woman. The next one is that you are too agreeable or not direct. There's a few different ways that this one can be described here. It could be too agreeable, too passive, too indecisive, not direct, not being a leader. I mean, the list goes on. A lot of these kind of go hand in hand. But being passive or indecisive often stems from a fear of making the wrong choice or a lack of confidence in one's decision-making abilities, lack of information, lack of knowledge about the options, anxiety, stress, or a tendency to just overanalyze and consider too many variables, which are obviously none of those are good things, right? So when you're direct and you're able to have your own opinions instead of being super agreeable, it's attractive to women, and it also helps with your own confidence as well. Because it allows you to express your feelings and intentions clearly, when you're honest and straightforward with your romantic interests, you can avoid misunderstandings, uncertainty, which can then lead to greater self-assurance in yourself and a stronger sense of self-worth. Being direct can also help you feel more in control of your dating life, which is a great feeling to have when you're dating. Contrary to popular belief, women don't necessarily find it attractive when a guy is agreeable all the time or has no backbone, has no opinions of his own, and just says yes or goes along with everything she says. You know, think of the word simp and how this is kind of regarded by women. Women don't typically find that attractive. I think there's a big difference between being a nice guy and being just a genuinely kind guy. You can be kind and still have a backbone and your own opinion and integrity. You know, sometimes when you're being too nice, women don't find that attractive because it's not authentic and you're just doing it to get a certain result, or it can be manipulative, or you are just doing it because you don't want people not to like you and it's a people-pleasing thing. So there's a ton of psychology that goes into all of this. I've done videos about this topic specifically that you guys can check out if you want a little bit more information, but ultimately here, I think it's important to be direct, have an opinion. The next one here is oversharing, trauma dumping, also known as emotional vomit, as I've referred to it in the past. There are many different names for this, but trauma dumping can be a really big turnoff to women because it can be emotionally overwhelming and exhausting to constantly absorb and process someone else's trauma, notably here very early on. This is something you absolutely do not want to be doing on date 1, date 2. You should naturally kind of open up a little bit as you get to know someone, but this should happen naturally. It should not be forced. It should not be for attention, and doing this too soon can really be a turnoff. Trauma dumping can create a sense of emotional unease and imbalance within the relationship as well, where one person is consistently giving while the other is consistently taking, which obviously is not a healthy dynamic. And while it's important to communicate and share experiences in a relationship, it's also important to be mindful of boundaries and the emotional capacity of the person that you're dating. And again, this is different once you are very into a relationship, you guys are exclusive, it's serious, versus in the talking stages and you're talking about your deepest, darkest trauma on date 1. Like, don't do that. And I want to read this little excerpt for you just to clarify. So this says, the fine line between venting and trauma dumping comes down to this. With trauma dumping, the purpose is to solicit sympathy and feedback. It's simply making your painful experiences and devastating emotional setbacks the point to your conversations wherein you do not have the ability to self-reflect or bring responsibility or accountability to your side of the story. It's very different than authentic vulnerability, and I think it's important to note that. I've done an entire video about vulnerability that I'll link below for you guys too. And the last thing that is such a big turnoff to women is talking about other women. So the reason I'm including this one is because I think a lot of guys try to do this as a flex or to brag, when in reality it kind of does the opposite of what you're thinking it does. So whether this is you talking about your ex quite a bit or going on and bragging about how many women you've slept with, it's a complete turnoff. So I do want to mention here, I'm not talking about you necessarily mentioning another woman in a platonic way or telling a story that involves a woman. I'm talking about like exes, past flings you've had, something sexual, anything you're saying to try to garner a response out of the woman that you're dating or make her feel jealous. Or think about yourself. You probably wouldn't want to hear the girl that you like talk about her ex all the time or other guys she's been with. Like, that would just be a huge turnoff to you. And the same rings true for women. It can really just signal a lack of respect for the woman that you're currently with and make her feel insecure or inadequate. If you're a guy who has options, you shouldn't need to say that or tell past escapade stories to show that. It will simply speak for itself. And this can often backfire on you as well, and women might view this as a sign that you're not fully invested in the relationship with her, or you might potentially be unfaithful. So discussing other women can create a sense of emotional distance and completely just erode trust within a relationship. Overall, not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend it from a woman's perspective here. Don't do it. And the reason why I wanted to include this point is because I've seen a lot of podcasts with like panels or just guys making videos themselves talking about how many girls they've slept with, or, you know, they talk about how you can do that. They go on and they brag about it like it's a good thing, when in reality it's just not necessarily an attractive thing. Do women typically like a guy who has some options? Yes, of course, because it reassures to them that, oh, this guy is a great potential partner. Other women are into him as well. Other women, think he's a catch too, and that kind of reassures to the woman that they're making a good choice. That's just kind of how biology and selection works, but I don't necessarily think that means hearing about those other options or hearing about your past escapades, exes, what went down. I just think some things are better left unsaid and kept to yourself. Alright guys, that is all I have for this video. If you liked it or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.